So welcome to another class in Visual Basic Programming. So today's program we are going to discuss are going to be predefined dialog boxes. So one is going to be your message box, another one is going to be your input box. The design of this particular program is very simple. You won't just have two buttons, a message box and an input box. So we are demonstrating the message box by clicking that button, and we will be demonstrating the use of input box by clicking this button. Right, there are two command buttons and there is a text box. So based on what we do with the message box and input box, that text will be displayed in this particular text box. Right, so let us start with the input box. So let me execute input box for you so that I will be able to explain a certain things. Clicking on input box now. Right, so this is your input box. So you can actually tell your system where you exactly want this, whether you want it at the center or you want to where you exactly wanted it. So you can give the distance from x coordinate and y coordinate. That distance can also be given to make it wherever, to get it wherever you wanted it. Yes, so that is the first thing. That is one of the properties of your input box. Yes, apart from that, what do you see here? You see three different messages. So I'm going to start with the message which is in the middle. What is your message? That is nothing but your prompt. It is called as your prompt. That is the message which comes in the center of the box. Right, the next message you have to give in the syntax is going to be your title message. After prompt comes the title. The title here is message entry form is the title. So what you see here is going to be the title of your input box that has to come next. Right, the third message is your default message. So you have to actually give your inputs. Input box is basically used to take inputs from the user. So before I type the input, if there is any instruction you wanted to give, right, so something like enter only integers, right, something like that you wanted to tell, or you have a default message. So wherein if the user doesn't enter anything, you can also have a default message there. Say for example, if the question is what is your age, right, the user has to enter his or her age. So if let's say the user hasn't entered anything, even then if you want a default age to go, let us say 20 years is the default, is my default age, then that can come here as the default text. So this text where you have enter your message is a default text, right? Or if I have a message, then I can say give that message. I'm just typing that message. My message here is welcome. Okay, so message box is used to just display the message. Input box is used to take inputs. In that way, this is an input box which we are seeing here. I have actually displayed a message, right? So that message is welcome, right? So what have we done in the program? In the program, we have created an input box, and whatever I'm going to enter, the value which I'm entering in the input box will be displayed on the text box which you see here. That is how we have designed it. Right, so again I repeat, the syntax of the input box has the following things, starting with the prompt. So what you see here, what is your name is a prompt, then the title message entry form is the title, then what you have seen here, enter your message was the previous message, right, that is your default message. Apart from that, you can also decide where you want the form to be. That is an optional information. If you don't want to give, automatically it will center the message box. It will come in the center. Right, so these are the parameters. Let us go see the program part of it. So I'm going to click OK. So you got this message here. How did you get it? Let us see that first. Then we will come back to message box. Right. So the command button I clicked for input box is nothing but command 2, which is this part. Right. So as we have already seen in the theory classes, it has a return value. So this return value is nothing but usermsg is the return value. So your user message is a string. It's going to be the return value. User message is equal to, so whatever I type in that particular default text, right? So I will tell you again, show you. So I type here, whatever I type here. Okay, this is going to be your return value which will be saved in user message variable. Okay, that will be the return value which will be saved here. Okay, So how do I design my input box? I'm going to have, this is my prompt value, right? So this is the prompt parameter. Next parameter, you can see that all the parameters are inside quotes. The next parameter is going to be the title parameter. Next comes the default text. So by default, what do you want to be in that particular input box? In that input box, you have a space where you can enter any message. In that message, what is your default value? So that default message is nothing but enter your message here. That's how I have designed it. Then I have some coordinate to position the input box. So these are optional, you can leave them also. This is going to tell you the distance from x coordinate and the distance from y coordinate, which also can be left. It is also optional, right? So this is my input box which I have designed with all these parameters. Now after the user has entered some message and he has clicked OK. After that, what happens? It is going to check if the input message from the input box or the return value from the input box which is stored inside user message is not equal to blank. If it is blank, if there is no value given by the user, then you are going to display text display.text, which is the text box here. What is text display? Is this text box, right? So you are going to display the text display.text is equal to no message. If there is a message, you wanted to display the message in the text box, right? Only if there is no message, then the else part will be executed. Otherwise, if it is false, which means if user message is not equal to blank, then text display.text is equal to user message. The return value will be stored inside text display.text, right? So endf, endsub. So there are only two things we are doing. One, first of all, we are creating an input box. We are storing the return value of that input box in user message. If user message is blank, then we are saying there is no message. If it has some text there, then we have wanted to display the text in a text box that is called text display.text. In that text box, we are displaying the message. Very simple. Okay, so this is going to be your input box. Input box is basically used for taking inputs from the user. Okay, so moving on to message box. So there is another message box which is also a predefined dialog boxes. So these are predefined dialog boxes. Let me change it to predefined dialog boxes only.